From London to the Black Sea, a boaters gathering at the filterbeds, boating Europe. So my name's Hamish, and I've been living in London on and off for 7 years on a boat. This is Ana. Come over here, Ana.
I need a
singer. Oh, okay. And Anna's, I was looking for some help to cross the channel and to head across Europe, and Ana turned up, and she was competent and sensible, so a couple of months later we sailed across the channel. I got seasick and she drove the boat. Okay, right, so this is the boat. You want to introduce the boat, Ana? Go on.
I'm sure I'm the right person to introduce your boat. Okay.
It's 7.2 metres, it's designed for 62 people, it's a lifeboat. Please join the presentation.
or it could be your turn.
It's designed to survive the worst the world can throw at it for 2 weeks, and 61 people are designed to survive after an oil rig explodes. It drives through the flames for 20 minutes, it goes underwater, turns upside down, and you're fine.
Go for it, guys.
It's not comfortable with waves.
It's not comfortable with waves. Okay, click the button, click the button. Right, Ana.
Okay, so this is our journey. What you see in orange is what we did so far. What is in green is what it's about to happen in the next year or 2 or 3, I don't know. So we did already 3 years. We have been 3 years out of London. 15 of those on the water, and 15 months of those on the water. Usually we come to London on the winters. So we did the first year, we did London to here, France, Mont-Saint-Lémin. Second year, Mont-Saint-Lémin to Linz, where the star is. And third year, from Linz all the way to the Black Sea to Constanza, where we are now.
And the original plan was actually to go down to the down the Rhone to the Mediterranean, and spend the winter in the Mediterranean. But the Rhone is a fucking great big river, and we would be going down in the autumn where it might be in flood, which could be a disaster, and then we'd be coming back in the spring where it might be in flood, which could be a disaster against the current. So we decided not to go to the Mediterranean. We thought we might get delayed for another year.
And that's why we did that. That's why we did this curve in here. Otherwise we would have gone directly from Paris to Strasbourg.
Yeah. Okay, click.
Hamish, do you want us to fix your phone camera because your head's like not all
Oh yeah, fix it. Come on, someone get that camera proper. You have to adjust the feet basically, it's a bit dodgy that one.
Oh, I see.
So there's a few specs about the journey, Ana.
A few stats of the journey. So till now we did 5,000 kilometers during 15 months. We did 500 locks. 6 tunnels, one of them at 6 kilometers, was 6 kilometers long.
It took us an hour and a half to go through it.
It's 1 hour and a half to do it. 8 rivers, 8 rivers, 18 different canals, mostly of them in France, and each of them with their own way of opening the locks, different systems of opening the locks. 9 countries. We went through a lock that was 30 meters deep. It was super deep, it was like crazy. Like on the main Donau Canal, and then we went to the highest point of Europe above sea level, which was 400 meters above sea level.
And this is the watershed, so on this side of it, it all flows to England, on that side it all flows to Asia. So we went over that point.
Yeah. We broke down twice, maybe 3. We had 1 leak on the second year when we went out, the boat was put out of the water for the winter, and then we went back in the water, something dried up and we had a leak, so it was a bit of a
very frosty
stress.
winter.
It was
in
very
Austria.
Suddenly we just see this water coming in, and we're like, oh, we have a leak, we have to come out. So we went out of the water again, and we were almost dying 3 times.
Maybe one of them almost dying, the 2 a bit dodgy. Okay, click. Okay.
You can click, so this is just the first bit.
Yeah. This is a crib sheet for us, so don't forget
more
something.
For us. It's more for us.
Okay, cool, click. Okay.
So year 1, we've departed from Limehouse Marina with at 3 p.m. So we always have these late departures. I think this one had to do with that. The excuse of Hamish on this one was the tide. Okay.
The tides, yes.
So okay, I think it was fine. We had 5 people on board to do. So the plan was to go from Limehouse Marina all the way up to Kew. To do some,
because we had to actually in Kew there was a pirate mooring where you could actually lash your boat up to another boat and then the tide would go out. So for about 4 hours every day, twice a day, you could actually access the bottom of your boat. And we had to do some repairs on the boat before we set off. So we went up to Kew to do some repairs, do a bit of work. Next. This is our crew testing out the life jackets. These are the original life jackets that came with the boat. Next. Okay.
Of course, Central London.
Yeah.
Next.
Okay, you're doing next now, pretty much.
We can do it. I can do it.
You actually can't.
Okay, slow down. Okay, the last one was we got a bit stormy in central London.
Johnny, go away.
What's Donny doing?
He wants
Okay,
snacks.
and then this is John Kenton. He's going to be here tonight, supposedly. He's the guy who were on the squatted mooring in Kew. He's lived there for 20 years. He got evicted. They all got evicted last year, I think, or the year before. Yeah. Next. He rowed us in. The tide was coming in, so it was too shallow. So he showed us where to go in a rowboat. And this is us. This is the boat out of the water. The tide's gone out. So if you ever want to black your boat or do some work, just go out on the Thames, wait for the tide to go out. Hopefully,
And then you can work on
but
it.
actually, you've got to go there with binoculars and check the ground, make sure there's no stones before, and then go put your boat in the spot where you decided there are no stones, and then let the tide go out, and you can work on your boat. Next. Okay, this is us. We needed to do some repairs on the propeller shaft. We needed to seal a through hull fitting, and we needed to bolt the stove down and bolt things down in the boat because we're going to go to sea and it's going to rock and things are going to crash about. Next.
How long do you get when the water's gone out?
About 4 hours.
4 hours a day?
Yeah, 4 hours twice a day.
Twice a day?
Yeah. You do, yes.
Maybe blackening is not the right thing to do.
Yeah. Okay, this is us setting off. It's me doing the safety talk. They all completely ignored it. Next. Okay, the weather wasn't great. Next.
There are a lot of these.
This is the happy crew. The crew were happy. Next. Okay, happy captain. Well, they're pissing down with rain. Next. Okay, this is leaving London. This is what's this?
Thames Barrier, isn't it?
Thames Barrier, yeah. So you had to phone them up basically, and they have to let you through. Next. We decided to take a break. We were the second boat to overnight in Dartford. Dartford. So we went up the river. I think it's the Dart or the Darrans. I'm not sure which one it is. And we moored up on the. This is all abandoned river. So if you want to get a free place to moor, there's one boat there currently, but you can go and moor there if you want. It's nice.
Yeah, we were stuck there 2 weeks because of the tide.
It's nice to be in Dartford.
So that,
You're in Dartford, yes, that's true, that's true. It's a free mooring,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah, we got stuck there 2
Okay,
weeks.
next.
That's true.
Okay, this is the crew who took us out. You probably know Martin. This is Ed from the Harmonica Barge. There's Pogue, who's since retired but used to be a famous London boater. And there's John Kenton. There's the man himself
There's
who's
the man.
arrived. Hello, John. You're a star of the show.
Yeah, John.
Oh, Ed, okay.
Okay,
There you go.
okay, next. Okay, the tide goes out and there's no lock gate, so your boat just settles on the mud. Next. You might as well just sit down there, come on.
It's cold and warm.
Oh, okay. We because of the tide, we had to set off in the middle of the night, and this is the sun just coming up just as we reach the Thames.
And officially out of London.
M25.
This is our officially picture
Yeah.
out of
We
London.
were going to do this reverse and start on the Danube, work our way back, but we decided to flip it around and start in London. We thought we might be excited to start the Danube, work back, but you're getting the London first version. Okay, M25.
Do you know the name of the bridge?
Queen
No.
Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right. I try, yes.
Okay, it was pissing with rain, of course. Next. Oh, actually, they kept getting spray on the window, so somebody used to go out and spray the thing with washing up liquid the window every 10 minutes.
That someone was me, of
And
course.
I had to reach
That
out
someone was
outside the
me.
boat with the
Yeah.
waves crashing and spray on the window. Okay, and then you can tell that
Oh,
story.
this is turning. So when we turned to the Medway, the waves were a bit too big, and when we turned, the waves were actually against our boat,
They're coming
and
from
I
the
was
side.
sitting on the side, Hamish was driving and there was this huge wave that came inside and just soaked me completely, and I was like, oh,
Came through the door.
Came through the door, so everything got soaked. We still have lots of rust everywhere on the boat because of that. Mm.
So when you go to sea, turn sideways to the waves, be wary. Okay, next. We weren't going to sink though, it was fine. And we anchored up in the beautiful Stansgate Creek. If you ever go down to the Medway, there's lovely places to anchor. You can just anchor in these sort of swampy islands and just sit in the sun. Very nice. Next.
Then we got to Ramsgate.
We got more crew and set off around the coast to Ramsgate. This is us in Ramsgate Harbour.
So
Next.
this was our departure point.
Yeah.
To cross the channel.
We picked up more crew in Ramsgate. We picked up Ramin and his girlfriend,
Lydia.
Okay, next. Crack of dawn, we set off. We weren't quite sure what the tides were doing. We had to guess about 3 times. We decided crack of dawn couldn't be wrong.
No, Hamish was waiting for a 3-day window
Yes.
with good weather, and we were waiting for it for a month, for a 3-day window with the good weather, and then suddenly just got fed up of waiting, and we had 1-day window of good weather, and we just went for it. So it was just lucky that it
wasn't lucky. It was lucky.
Fine. It was fine.
We had about half-metre waves going across the channel. Okay, next. So we're going along the White Cliffs of Dover, just coming up to the turn. Next. There's a buoy, actually, and you have to go through. You have to go along the coast, and then there's a buoy, and at that buoy you have to turn across the channel, and you're only allowed to go 90 degrees. You're not allowed to turn either way because it's a traffic control zone, and actually it's a motorway. You're crossing the M25. There's boats going 30 miles an hour, 50,000 tons. Boom, 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 boom,
We had
boom, boom.
83 boats around us.
83 boats around us.
moment.
At 30 miles an hour. They can't stop.
I mean, it's crazy.
So we're just getting ready to cross like Frogger, just cross the motorway. Okay, next.
Yeah, and in this point we were stopped by a gunboat, an English gunboat that asked us where we were going, how many were we on board, and then they just let us go.
They did. Okay, and up here there's a big boat. You can't quite see it, but this is me checking it out with the binoculars. You have to be really conscious about the big boats because they're on the horizon. They're right next to you. Just a couple of minutes. Boom, boom, boom. These huge boats which can't stop and don't manoeuvre. Okay, next. And there's the ferries zooming backwards and forwards too. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, next. Okay, this is Ramin. He's a mate on a lifeboat. He's driving, and we did the navigation via a laptop with OpenCPM, open source navigation software, and we had a phone sending the GPS via Bluetooth to the laptop, and this navigated us across the channel. It was good.
We had a phone on the app that was called Find Ship.
Find Ship, yes.
Yeah, and it identified all the ships that were around us, so we could see how fast they were coming. But of course, that when we were looking outside, we said, okay, that is that ship, that's that name. And this coming this fast, and then when we looked the other direction, suddenly the boat was not there anymore. So I was like, oh, okay, so it's gone. Okay.
The app doesn't update in real time.
So it was a bit of a.
Okay, next.
But this worked perfectly.
Yeah. Okay, this is us in the middle of the channel. At this stage, I got a bit seasick and went to bed. Next.
Which is here.
Me having a nap.
Yeah.
So I left Anna in charge. The crew were competent. I just opened my eye occasionally, just to make sure nobody was panicking. Okay, next. France.
And we get to France finally.
Yeah, 8 hours.
Yeah, 8 hours. Sea was quite
We were
calm.
doing about 8 kilometers an hour, 6 knots or so. Yeah, just chug.
We just need to follow the boys, basically.
Yeah.
And we got
Don't
there.
panic. When a big ship comes, you make a judgment. Do we go behind it or in front of it?
Thank you.
And you have to make that judgment call. If you get it wrong, it could all end in tears. Okay, next. When we got to France, the lifeboat came out and greeted us, and they were super happy. They took lots of photos and laughed a lot because they were rescuing a lifeboat.
Well, basically what happened is that one of the ferries tried to get in touch with us with the radio and trying to understand, are you in trouble? And we were trying to contact him back and tell him that we were fine, but they
The radio
didn't get
wasn't
the
working.
message. The radio was not working, so they called the lifeboat. So the lifeboat came to rescue us, and then they were just taking lots of pictures of us and laughing and just thinking, oh, those crazy guys.
Okay, next. This is coming into France. We had to radio the harbour. And they just wanted to know where we came from. We told them Ramsgate. I think they actually phoned up Ramsgate Harbour just to check, and then we had to wait for 2 ferries to come in. and we were just hanging around outside the harbour until they came in. Then when they said, follow that ferry in, so we did. We followed the ferry in. We run down a few fishermen's lines and just went straight for it. And actually there was no formalities. We just went through the port, went to a bridge, sat outside the bridge, CCTV. They opened the bridge went up, went into another harbour, and then there was a lock. We sat outside the lock, and there was the CCTV, and they opened the lock, and we were in France. No formalities, no passports, no nothing.
And there was no one checking on us.
Nobody checked on us.
Weird.
Next. Okay, this is the French maps. We didn't actually get French maps till we arrived. Okay, next. Oh, we missed a boat. We missed one. We missed the shot. Do we think we missed one? That doesn't matter. But okay. This is the mooring in France. In Calais. There's once you get through the harbour, you're on French waterways, and in French waterways there's no 14-day rule. You can stay as long as you like. So actually, I think we stayed there for a month.
And the boat that we are next to is the one that was rescued by a lifeboat on the way back to England a few months ago.
What's his name with the barge? I can't remember his name.
I can't remember.
He was on the BBC.
I don't know.
Okay. Next. Okay, maps of France. There's tons of canals in France.
In France, basically, what you need in France to navigate is you just need to get a vignette. From the VNF, and it's like £200 a year.
It's a third of the price of the UK.
Yeah, so it's much cheaper than it is in here, and you can just stop wherever the banks. You can stop anywhere. There are moorings everywhere, so it's more or less like England. The boats are a bit bigger, the rivers are a bit wider, but
the locks are huge.
The locks are huge. But it's quite relaxed, actually.
It's quite relaxed, yeah. Okay. This is us setting off after staying in Calais for a few weeks. We set off on another rainy day, of course. Why are all our photos rainy? The sunny days too.
Because they weren't. In the beginning it was all rainy.
Okay. And it was just us two actually set off into the wilds of. We didn't actually know where we were going. There was a canal. We were going to follow it. Then it turned about 3 or 4 canals. We're going to Paris. We're going to Paris. Okay.
That was the plan. Going to
Next. Paris. And of course, what happened?
Well, we left at 12, of course, because we never start before 12, and we still don't. And we got, because it was lunchtime in France, and all the locks are operated by lock keepers. We just got stuck for 2 hours. So we got there. So it was swing bridges. We had to wait. I walked there, I saw a phone number, I called the phone number and they said, oh, we're having a lunch, at 2 o'clock we show up. Okay, that's fine. So we waited for them until 2 o'clock, they came at 2, they've opened the bridges, and then they just followed us for the next 5 bridges. So we have allocated lock keepers for 5 bridges, then they go next to us. So we are literally on the boat and they are next to us on their motorbike, on the scooter next to us, and they are going to open the following bridge. It's amazing. It's hilarious.
Okay, next. Okay, this is the French countryside. It looks very beautiful. Next. Okay.
And we have lots of, and then it's like there's swing bridges, lift bridges, and then there are lots of.
Next.
Next. So there are like.
That's a lock. This is a small lock.
Small lock. This is a small lock.
It's kind of English scale.
It's an English scale. This one, yeah. But then.
Next.
We have. There are huge locks suddenly, and you have this big.
And this is the size of boats you see. That's coming out of the lock. That boat.
So the boats start to get a bit bigger.
Yes. Next. Okay, this is in one of the medium-sized locks.
Medium-sized locks. Yeah.
Next.
There are not that many cruise boats.
Not so many. There's not many liverboards in France. It's pretty deserted. It's huge waterways, pretty deserted. Okay, this is you get, the locks are all different. These have got sloping walls. But this one very nicely has a pontoon which goes up and down. But some of them just have sloping walls, and you're just sitting in a boat with sloping walls and no way to tie up. And God knows what you're supposed to do. Next, tunnel.
Yeah, this is the long tunnel. So this was a 5 kilometer,
6 kilometer,
6 kilometer tunnel, and we were pushed by this, pulled by this.
It's a chain boat.
Chain boat, yeah.
Electric powered.
So we had to book it. We had to be there at 6 a.m. in the morning or 7 a.m. in the morning. The guys arrived with this boat, and he looked at our boat and he was like, "Oh shit, where am I going to put?" Because it was like, "How am I going to put our chain to your boat?" So usually they just do a cross thing so that the boat doesn't swing,
go side to side,
and ours just has 1 point. So he was like, "Okay, whatever, just do to 1 point." And then we've learned that it was like a mistake, because then the guys just went for it. It was 6 kilometers, 1.5 hours, with the boat just banging against the sides, and we were just like I was on the side, Hamish was on the other with the hand and the ball.
Dropping bollards in, and
It was, yeah.
It was a bit of a nightmare.
It was a bit of a nightmare.
All in the dark. And the guys in the boat ahead of us just went downstairs and had a cup of tea. It's a chain boat, so they don't have to steer it; it just follows the chain.
They just didn't stop at all. It was like.
So this is the tunnel for 6 kilometers. Next.
And this is how the boat
came out with we scraped all the sides of the tunnels off.
Brought half of the tunnel with us.
Yeah. But luckily the boat wasn't damaged actually. We spent all our time putting tyres and things in the way of the damage, so it was all right in the end. But it was a bit stressful.
It was stressful, but it was fun.
Okay, next. Okay, this is the Marne. We decided we were coming up and we had a choice of 2 ways to go, didn't we?
Yeah, we could go. Yeah, we could go through a canal that was full of big peniche boats, and we were a bit scared about the peniche. So we were like, okay, it's going to the canal that's very busy. It's going to be a bit of a crazy thing for us. And there was a tunnel as well.
It was a 2-way tunnel with a passing place in the middle, and we just imagined ourselves coming in this tunnel with those huge boats disappearing out of nowhere and being crushed to death.
Yeah, so we got a bit scared, so we went a bit around. So we didn't do the direct route to France. So we went a bit around and we went through the Marne.
So we decided to go to the Champagne region. So we went through this beautiful Marne River, absolutely gorgeous, wandered through the Champagne with fields of grapes and things and little towns to stop in. Next. And not a boat in sight.
Yeah.
Oh, apart from that one. But that's a small boat. That's a small one. That one.
Peniche,
that's a peniche. That's an old-fashioned small boat. Next.
Is that a leisure boat for someone?
No, that's a commercial boat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's all commercial out there. There's leisure, but it's very small. It's mostly commercial. It's still all used the waterways.
Yeah, but you need to make sure that you.
So it's not designed for our size boat. So see all the buoys, we have to buffer up against the side. Wherever you moor up, it's just not designed for our boat. So you have to, designed for a boat 100 times as big. Next. Okay, beautiful French countryside. Absolutely good. The canals are gorgeous. They just go on forever and they go in every direction.
You can stop anywhere.
You can stop anywhere. Very nice. And there's no people, and the towns and villages are half deserted. Next.
Apart from that.
There's actually surprisingly a lot.
On the locks, all the locks have a tap.
Yeah.
All the locks have a tap, which is amazing. I know,
Yeah.
which is amazing.
Yeah.
So the infrastructure is pretty good. So just more up in the middle of nowhere, basically. Nice. Next. Okay, this is the Nivian. This is again we had to decide big canal full of big boats or small canal with hundreds of locks. We decided small canal with hundreds of locks, and this one went over a big hill, went up and up and up and up, 100 locks up and then down again. So this is at the top. This is the cuttings at the top of this huge, great big 100 lock thing up through some hills. Some
Hamish was doing this single-handed.
I did this single-handed.
I was in London by then. Yeah.
Were they manned? They were manned. Yes, they were all manned. Yes. In France, you have manned locks. Oh, we're going to come to that in a bit. So carry on. Next. Okay, this is the Green Tunnel. It just this is Nivian again. It just goes with trees on both sides. Very lovely place. I recommend it if you ever go. Next. Aqueducts. Lots of aqueducts going over big rivers. Next. Lots of cuttings. Their infrastructure is different. It was built by the state, and the state built grandiose, big. Where in Britain it was built by a private enterprise, super small and mean. Kind of cute, but super small and mean. It's just a different scale in Europe, completely different scale. Next.
Winter mooring.
This is our winter mooring. As I say, we were going to go down to the Med, but we decided we chickened out because we just thought we were going to be caught in a flood. And I was watching someone's video who's just brought a boat across, and they got caught in the flood, and their boat hardly moved. So I'm glad we didn't do it, otherwise we'd been stuck. So this is a little old mining town where it had a town. It was kind of workers' utopia. Thatcherite workers' utopia, post-workers' utopia, and the town mooring was still super cheap. It was a third of the price of everywhere else, so we left the boat there for the winter.
Yeah, but this mooring was found a bit by luck, because basically we didn't know that the canals were going to stop for winter. They were going to close for winter, and it was literally, Hamish found this, I was back in London, and Hamish found this mooring like 2 days before.
They were just about to close the canal just after
the canals were going to be closed. So he could have been caught.
I could have been caught
in the middle of
stuck
nowhere,
in the middle of nowhere.
and he could not go anywhere else because then he could not move because all the locks are operated by someone, so you cannot move on your own. They just closed them
They
all
closed
on.
apart from the main ones, they closed the small ones, and we were on the small ones. So
Yeah.
actually, everything stops in the winter. Yeah.
For various
And they drain
reasons,
some
for
of them too.
Yeah,
So
for repairs,
Yeah.
because it froze. It freeze.
this froze. This
one
froze about this deep.
So, but we didn't know.
Well, we did ask.
Like,
We weren't there. But I met a local person and got them to look after it and to keep an eye on it. And we just asked, phoned them, how's
you
the
met a
boat doing?
local person on couch surfing.
On couch
Right?
surfing.
Yeah.
I asked on couch surfing, anyone to look on for a boat sit? Anyone to look after a boat? And this person said, yeah, I'll have a look after it. And hey presto. Okay, next. So this was our journey.
Yeah, this is the canal system, the French canal system.
So we came in, this is the overview, we came in somewhere around here. Where did we come in?
Yeah.
Oh, there, yeah, there. And then, where did we go?
We went to small canal, then to the big one. I went there. This was the one that we could do direct to Paris.
Oh, that's we
But
just
then we
chickened out.
decided not to. We chickened out because of the big boats. So we decided to go through the small
Yeah.
canal, through the Champagne region, there, and then
back.
and then we went all around
Ah,
here,
down there. We were
and then
wrong way.
went to the Marne to Paris, and then we
carried
went a
on
bit down to that star there.
Yeah.
So we just went the longest way that we could.
It was just making it up as we went along. We'd come to a junction of 3 canals and go, which way should we go? Let's go that way.
Yeah, we just choose the small canals
Yeah.
to the big ones.
Wow.
So that was just an option.
Okay, next. Okay, this is our crib sheet for the next year. Let's just check it.
And this was the end of first year.
Okay, yeah.
So we came to the second year,
Second year,
which
okay.
we did from France all the way to Austria.
Okay, next. I got back to the boat, and of course, I hadn't really set it up ready for. I've never left my boat for the winter, and it all went mouldy. This is the roof that had a leak, and it all went mouldy. Next. And the carpet all went mouldy. Lovely rock and carpet. Next. And the stove, they had a leak in the roof down the chimney, and the stove went all rusty. So if you leave your boat for the winter, take care. Okay. And then we set off again.
And we have our located.
Yeah, this guy was following
Lock
us
guy,
for
of
3 or
course.
4 locks in a van. Hopefully the locks. Okay, next.
And that is our shower on the
Oh,
top,
yes.
on the right hand side.
That black thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was that? Done?
What is on the roof? Can you
Or
go back?
what?
Go back, go back.
Oh, I don't know.
Here.
I don't know. We'll see another photo in a bit. So we just moored up in random in little towns. The French towns, they don't have much infrastructure left. There's almost no shops. There's half the shop, half the buildings are empty. You know, France is the countryside is empty basically of people. It's a strange experience. Beautiful, but empty. No boats, no people. Hard to get food. Yeah. Okay, next. Okay.
Cheese and wine.
So I got
cheese and wine, yeah.
So I arrived at a lock, and they were putting in a new lock gate, so I got held up for a few hours. But they actually halfway through the process they let me through. Next.
But how long did that take them? Not 3 months.
Which one's that?
The lock.
Oh, the lock. No, they were just doing it in a day.
few
They were doing it in a couple of hours. They were quite
hours,
fast.
it's crazy.
It's not CRT. It's VNF. You know, VNF gets stuff done.
No, it's crazy.
Okay, it's plagued with rental boats, France. So these white rental boats, they crash into you, they go too fast, they're general idiots. There's lots of them, so be
It's a
wary of them.
nightmare.
It's a nightmare.
Those guys are a nightmare.
Yeah. Okay, next these are le boat. And then
No, this is just another way of. So the locks are not. They have this automated system this elevated system of the bollards, which is quite
Floating
handy,
bollards.
These floating bollards.
otherwise,
So it's very
otherwise you
nice.
have maybe a 10-meter lock with 5 or 6 things, and you have to hook onto each one as the boat goes up. So you're standing on the boat hooking onto new ones, which is a bit of a pain. These you just hook it on and it goes up.
This one was on a small lock actually. Like the-
Next.
Abandoned
France is abandoned. This is an abandoned ceramics factory, just moored up. Very nice. Next. Perfect for squatting. Yeah. France is a mixture of canals and rivers, and of course rivers flood. It rained a shit lot, and this river started flooding. And I was pottering along, and the boat went down to half speed. And I was trying to get to a bridge, and the boat almost stopped trying to go through the narrow bridge arches. I went faster, and the boat just popped through and then accelerated again. So you've got to be wary. When it starts raining, you have to be very aware of the flow and the rivers going up and down, because they go up and down by a metre or so at least. Okay, next. we got caught by the French police.
Yeah, we got to a French town and suddenly, I don't know why, the police just decided to knock at our door and they've asked for
Papers.
So they've asked.
It's the first time we met the police.
So they asked for boat license,
Insurance.
insurance, and then they've asked to see
The safety equipment.
The safety equipment, yeah, all the life jackets and the extinguishers.
So one of our extinguishers doesn't have the right marking on it. It had the right date, but not the right marking. And our life jackets didn't have the right marking on, so we had to go and buy a new life jacket and a new fire extinguisher.
They didn't accept our original life jackets. So.
It looks like the fire extinguisher is vacuum packed. I was really confused.
Yeah, it's a new one. It's a new one.
We had to
so we had to go to a marina and buy them. We had to take the photo and send it to them.
Yeah,
so it was fine in the end.
That's it. They gave us an email, and then they said, okay, you just take a photo of everything with the receipt, and then you send it to us on this email, and it's fine. And it was fine.
And it was quite nice because we were going to go on the Rhine with German police and we were bound to get into big trouble with the Germans, so it was good to be prepared. Okay, next. Beautiful scenery, lovely sunken boat, just lovely woods, forest, gorgeous. Next. Go for a paddle. It's very hot in the summer in France, so just go for a paddle. Next. This is the turn.
This is waiting for the last canal before the Rhine. Yeah. This is the Rhine canal.
Next.
Like it's written in there somewhere.
So this is the last canal before we go on the Rhine. The Rhine was a big scary thing for us because it's another one of these you can't turn back. Our boat's not fast enough to go up the Rhine. It can only go down the Rhine. So once we're on the Rhine, we're going down the Rhine.
And we had lots of stories. Yes. And the reality is that we had lots of stories about it.
We were
like, oh God, what are we going to do in here?
It's that big. The Thames is a big moment. The Rhine is the next big moment. Next. Okay, they gave us these weird electronic clickers. This is the talking about France. In France, every canal has a different way of opening the lock. Some are opened by people who can't drive with you. Some have wires across and ropes hanging down, so you have to drive your boat up to this rope and you have to pull it. In some, you have to twist it in others.
And you need to find out what the hell you need to do.
Pull it or twist it, I don't know. And then the lock's automated, it opens by itself. This one, you had electronic clickers, so it was this sort of 1970s technology with wireless, and you have to press the buttons in the right order. It's all in French, so you're pressing buttons randomly, and sometimes the lock going open, sometimes it doesn't. So there was about 3 different sorts of these too. So every new canal, you get a new way of doing the locks in France. It's interesting. Keeps you amused. Next.
Comments were a nice one.
It's breakdown.
And of course, it was our first breakdown. So we had, I was driving and suddenly I just heard this rustling noise on the engine. I said to Hamish, Hamish, there's this weird noise coming out of the engine. And it was like, oh, okay, it must be nothing. Just opened. And then it was like, oh, this is problematic. We're like, okay, this doesn't sound good. And it looks like the coolant box just snapped out of the engine.
It used to be fastened to the engine.
Because of all the vibrations
the metal
and everything.
fatigue actually snapped the metal holding onto it and it had fallen off. But it was still held on by the hose and it was still working. So luckily we were on a small canal, so we stopped and VNF came along and said, hey, you having problems? Yes, okay, and next.
So they
actually went and welded us a new part and put it back together again. VNF, it's not CRT. And off we went. Next. This is before the Rhine. We actually stopped and got the boat ready because we were panicking about the Rhine. It's a huge river and it flows ridiculously fast and it has these ginormous boats which don't stop. So we were panicking. So we stopped and we emptied the boat out. We sorted it all out and tried to get it organised so if something happened, it wouldn't all be terrible. Next.
We've stayed there almost a week.
Yeah. Okay, this is turning onto the Rhine.
This is our first turn to the Rhine. So we went.
Notice this thing from there to there.
We went down the lock.
What's that?
So you go down the lock, and then of course there is this huge boat coming. We're like, what the hell are we doing now? And so we just waited. We just let him pass. He passed, and then we at this point. I was hoping that I could go to. We were hoping to go to Switzerland.
Yeah, we were. Yes.
Because at this point you can either go up to along France and Germany, or you can go down to Switzerland. And I wanted to go to Switzerland to see architecture. I was like, I want to go. We're really close.
It was only 20
to this
kilometers.
town. Let's go. So we did turns. We did still turn upriver, but we just couldn't do it. Like,
and the engine was going flat out, and we were kind of inching upwards. But then we stopped in the middle of the river, so we thought we'd go to the edge of the river. So we came outside the navigation buoys, and we got a little bit of speed. But then we looked out the door, and we could see the bottom. We thought, oh fuck! So we just spun the boat round and went down the Rhine. So don't leave the boys. Don't leave the boys.
Yeah.
Okay. It's all done by boys. You know, you just follow the boys. It's pretty straightforward. Next. We speeded up on the Rhine. The boat does 8 kilometres an hour. The current put us up to 11, and actually at one point we went up to 17 kilometres an hour. Okay, next. Okay.
That's very industrial. That was just a bit of an industrial bit of the Rhine. So it's very industrial when we
started.
back. So
yes.
we started in Mulhouse, which is in the border with Switzerland. That's where we got the Rhine, and we went through a nuclear station and everything.
Nuclear power station, and it's all hydroelectric, owned by the French after the war. It was built in cooperation. Of course, the French stole all the electricity because the Germans were embarrassed. Next. The locks get bigger.
Yes. That's a big thing.
Yeah, they get slightly bigger, slightly bigger.
Okay, so, okay.
This was our first lock, and we were like, oh, okay. But luckily, this had the elevated.
Our boat is this big.
Yeah. Luckily, these locks they have the elevated bollards, so you just need to find the side where they are. But they
So this is a ladder next to it. I wouldn't recommend climbing that. It's covered in slime.
No.
So this is what, 20 metres or something, 60 feet?
Yeah, this
Not
is
sure.
quite good, yeah.
This is not the biggest one. Next. That's the view from the other direction. They're designed for, I think, maybe 300 metres barges, you know. Yeah. Next. Okay, but the Rhine is beautiful too. It has lots of old parts of the river. It's canalised, and there's old parts of the river, and you can just turn onto those, and you're in the most gorgeous nature. So you just drop your anchor.
We just need to make sure that we don't miss the turn.
Yeah. Actually, the Rhine, if you miss the turn, you can't go back again. So you literally, you're coming up this turn, and you go.
So it was always best to find the turn. Yeah.
Oh my god. What are you holding?
Well, it's a mosquito net. There's
mosquito net.
mosquitoes. Yeah. Throughout Europe, there's mosquitoes. Next. The engine broke again. The repairs from B&F, the metal fatigue snapped it again. So we're on the Rhine and the engine snaps. So we're going down the Rhine. It's a stormy day. So we have to drive for a couple of hours with me and my head in the engine holding the coolant box while we're driving down the Rhine. While Anna's driving down the Rhine. Okay, next. Okay, then actually we've kind of stick some stuff on it, hold it in place. But you still have to hold it, otherwise it rattles around too much. Okay, next. We stop here. This is a lot before Strasbourg, and these are the huge boats coming by. Within sort of a couple of metres of us, and we had to wait for a big boat, so we decided to turn the engine off. Normal thing to do. When it came time for us to come in the lock, we turned the engine. Click, 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 click. So we've got a broken coolant box, and our engine doesn't start.
They got stuck in the.
We got stuck. It turns out our starter motor had died. So we're stuck within these huge boats going past us for 3 days, and next we have to go and talk to a very grumpy lock keeper who wants us to get the fuck out of there, out of his lock.
I had to jump all the fences. It was super secure. It was almost impossible to jump it. I had to jump, talk to the guys. They were super annoyed because we were there. Like, we cannot do anything. We're just broke. We cannot move the boat. Yeah. So we need to find us a way. And they said, no, you need to find it. We cannot find it. I said, okay, so what do we do? So finally, they gave me a contact number of Marina. We've called Marina, and the guys just send us home.
So this guy came in his boat and towed us to Strasbourg. Next. So this is the boat. This is a marina guy. He's towed. So we're jammed in the lock with these ginormous 100-metre, 200-metre boats, and he's going to tow us backwards. That's the back of our boat. tow us about 10 kilometres into Strasbourg, into his marina. And I think this was our most expensive breakdown. I think it totally cost us about 800 euros. Yeah. By the time the whole boat was put back together again, and the tow and things. Okay, next. We had a lovely time in Strasbourg. We ended up, the marina guy, after doing the repairs and charged us 800 euros, said you could stay for free, which was nice. And then actually we met some French blues musicians on a peniche, the whole community of boaters. This is one of our first. There's very few communities of boaters, and this was a genuine community of boaters. There's a whole row of peniches, and everyone, very friendly people. So we ended up mooring up next to him, and he actually welded various parts of the engine and put it all back together again better. Next. Yeah, we moved the coolant box from the engine to the side of the engine bay, so it wouldn't fall off again. Again, we had to get new hoses. It was a big palaver. Next.
Well, we were a month.
A month.
in
Anna went back
Strasbourg,
to England, went back to London
no,
to
I
work.
went back to visit my parents. I
Visit
think.
parents.
I
Yeah, so I was
didn't
there
want to
by
stay
myself.
There, so Amy stayed there.
Okay, this is the Peniche. They would have practice sessions with the French band playing French rock and roll in the thing every Tuesday. Nice bunch. It's the industrial harbour of Strasbourg. Okay, next. We set off.
And 1 month later.
1 month later. Lots of delays.
Yeah,
Next. 17 kilometers an hour.
Yeah, so after Strasbourg, there is one lock after Strasbourg, and then it's the last lock of the Rhine.
And it's just river all the way down.
And then after that last lock, the river just speeds up. It's like crazy. And we got to 17 kilometers after the last lock.
Okay, next. Sorry. The thing about the Rhine at this point is that there's lots of underwater stone walls to control the flow.
Yeah.
And you can't see them. You know, you can look and you might see a disturbance in the water, but they're buoyed, but the buoys are kind of a kilometre away. So you're going down this thing and these huge boats behind you, boom, in front of you, boom, boom, and you're kind of going along the edge, but you can't go inside these buoys, otherwise you'll hit a stone wall and rip the bottom out of your boat. And you can't see these walls, they're there, you can't see them. So this is this is the visible bit, but then it comes out right almost to the centre of the river. And these are just all the way down, and it's to regulate the flow of the river because there aren't any locks, it's to slow it down. Yeah. So we were panicking about this, but we worked it out. We were fine in the end. It all worked out fine in the end. Okay, here's a big boat, the size of them.
They get super close.
They get super close and super big.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're not going to do about that chicken thing, I haven't got a photo of it.
I know.
Okay, let's forget about that. More stories, but next. They do, yes. So this is our boat. This is a medium-sized cargo boat. Okay, gives you the idea of the size. Okay. And sometimes these are 3 wide in the Danube. You get 1, 2, 3, and then there's actually 9 of them. There's 3, 3, and 3 blocking the whole river, all chained together, coming up or down.
That is on the Danube.
That's on the
because
Danube.
it's much wider.
The Rhine, they double up sometimes.
Yeah, they double up on the Rhine.
Okay. Next. What's that?
Yeah, it was just turning down to the main.
This is coming off the Rhine with a sigh of relief coming off the Rhine. It was a little stressful. Beautiful but stressful.
So it's turned to the main, and
we almost
there was
died
this
then.
big. Yeah, that was another one
This
that
was
was almost dying.
this
So we turned to the main, and there was this big boat in front of us.
In the middle of the river.
In the middle of the river, and suddenly he just starts to stop, and we're like, "Why is this guy stopping? What is he stopping? What is he doing? We need to turn here, and we cannot miss the stop. We cannot go further.
If we go past it, we can't come back.
We just need to go. We just need to turn in that point that he wasn't stopping. So we just speeded up. We just crossed him. We just went around him, and we just turned right to the main.
Turned off the Rhine onto the main.
And suddenly, when we turned to the main, we realized why he was stopping. There was a huge boat coming out of the main. that we were almost eating, and
so we had no choice. We couldn't turn back because the current would catch us and we'd just spin and be run down. So we had to come alongside him about this far away, and with rocks on this side. Passive great steel of wall on this side. We just had to run very steady, maximum power, just for 100 meters alongside this huge boat. We survived. We were fine.
You have all the guys talking with each other, freaking out. Like, what is this guy doing? This.
Yeah, okay, so keep your radio on when doing dangerous
We didn't
turns.
have the radio on.
We didn't have the radio on. Otherwise, they might have said something.
Yeah, we didn't have the radio on. Yeah, we didn't have the radio on. Yeah, we learned our lesson, of course.
Okay, next. Okay, beautiful. This is the main.
That's the main. Gets smaller.
So the boats are still pretty big, and with the second near that was on the main, wasn't it? Second near death was on the main.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that was we were turning a corner, a beautiful wooded scenery. There was a sort of 90-degree corner, so we were coming up to it, not a boat in sight, and so we sort of traveled, and there was this wall of steel blocking the whole river, and this boat was coming down at high speed, and he turned sideways to get around this corner, and he blocked the whole river. We were coming around the corner, he was coming around the corner sideways. And Anna was driving, and so I said, okay, keep away from him. And he was turning. I noticed he was turning, but I also noticed that he was sucking up the whole river. So off the side, these rocks were coming closer and closer. He was sucking up the whole water of the river. So we were going to crash into the rocks, not because we were going to the rocks, but because the rocks were going for us, because all the water was sucked from underneath us. So I said to Anna, Anna, turn the boat and steer straight for him. Because he was turning, so if you steer straight for him, he's going to get out of the way. But Anna was going, oh! She did it, and we turned straight for him, and we didn't crash into the rocks, we didn't hit him either, because he was turning away. So we were coming, and he was turning away, so we kind of came around the corner. But that was second time.
Yeah.
It happens.
So it was the second year experience.
Second year, yes. Yeah. Next.
We got to
Frankfurt.
Frankfurt.
Yeah. We didn't have anywhere to moor, so we actually asked this kebab boat, Tasty Fish Kebabs, and he said, can we moor up next to you? And he said, all right. So we moored up in the centre of Frankfurt. This is the park right in the centre of Frankfurt. But we did have kids jumping on our roof in the night.
Yeah, we had people jumping on our roof.
Yeah,
It was
a bit annoying. Okay, next. He gave us breakfast. It was tasty. Okay, so this is
the Maindonau Canal, and this is the deepest lock. This is the 30-meter deep lock.
That's a huge boat.
Yeah. This is the 30-meter deep lock in
Yeah.
the Maindonau Canal.
So this is the second largest lock in Europe, I think, and the largest in...
That's the second one.
Yeah,
First one is in Portugal.
Okay. Yeah, well, no problem, we were happy.
Yeah.
Next. We were happy by then.
And this is how it looks when you are down there. It's like, you just have this wall. Like, it's crazy.
No,
Now
it's a street
light.
light.
It's
a
a
light,
light.
yeah.
So
Okay.
this is what you see when you are down there.
No,
You
about
see,
20 minutes
you'll see
or so.
now the next one.
Okay, next.
So these ones, they actually fill from the sides, which is crazy because you have to hold yourself to the side, to a buoy on the side, and the water comes from the side
And
as
it
well. So
pushes
you're
you
actually
off.
pushed off. So it's like it's so stressful.
So
because
weird. This was only in Austria.
Yeah, this is
Germany.
Germany.
Okay.
Germany. Yeah. So it's a bit of a weird one. You need to realize when you go in, suddenly you learn, and then you see where the water is coming in. So you need to stop on the opposite side so that you are not pushed out of the
There's a few surprises in European locks. Next. This is Anna holding on for dear life.
Yeah,
Next.
this one didn't have the elevated thing.
Yes,
so this
yes.
one was the one that you had to put the ropes every.
Each one of these is
so
a
it's like
separate
15
hook.
of those.
So you have to hook on each time as it goes, as the boat rises over
It's
20 minutes or so.
crazy.
Yeah.
No, you need to be lined.
No,
Yeah, you need to be on line.
You can't
yeah.
be loose.
They
They'll tell
don't
you
let you. They don't let you be loose. It's crazy.
Okay, next. The highest point in Europe. This is the divided line for the watershed of Europe, 406 metres,
Yeah.
and on this is us going past it. So we're now in Asia, and on the other side is Europe.
Yeah.
So it's all downhill to Asia from now on, and there's much less locks on the downhill parts. Next. First day on the Danube.
Yeah, we got to the Danube. And
What happened on the Danube? I can't remember.
I don't know. So we were waiting to stop. So again, the Danube was a bit of a big one
Ah,
for us.
another
And we
big
didn't know
river.
what was happening. We had lots of stories. So we wanted to stop in the town before the Danube. But when we got there, we just could not find any mooring. And all the moorings were just for the big cruise ships, so we could not find any mooring. And the mooring to go to the marina, if there was a marina, we had to go in the Danube and then upriver to go to that town. And then we could not do upriver,
do
of
it,
course.
no.
So we went downriver and then
So we didn't have anywhere to stop.
and then we had to look for a place to
First
stop.
day on the Danube.
So we found this rusty boat in the middle of the river, and we just went for it, and we just moored to it, and just moored to it.
So the current's
It was-
flowing at sort of 6 to 8 kilometres an hour, so we had to come around the back of it, then maximum power and hold alongside it. And Anna had to climb up sort of 3 or 4 metres on this boat with a rope, while I was using the engine to hold us on the side of this barge.
I was almost dying in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you
guys.
weren't really dying.
Passing through. Thank you. Have a good evening.
I mean, it was a nice place to spend the night. We were a bit worried that a big barge might come along and take us away in the middle of the night,
Because that's
but
what they do.
didn't.
Because that's what they do.
just
They
turned up
just
in the middle of the
disappear
night
in the
and
night,
take it
and we
away.
thought we're going to end up somewhere else in the world. Yeah, that's fine.
Next. So it gives you an idea of the scale. Okay, this is Austria now,
A
or
what? We have
Yeah, we have an anchor light,
Anchor
yes,
light,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, it was on.
yeah, we turned it on,
Yeah.
even though we were pirate mooring. We did a lot of pirate moorings.
We were thinking if we were going to turn the anchor light
On
on
or
that
off.
one or not. Like, okay, are we going to have it because we are going to be caught or not? So we decide, okay, it's safer. Because if somebody comes and drags us alone, at least they know we are here.
Yes.
So, it's like,
So this is Austria, yeah?
this is Austria. This is Danube. It gets wider and
Danube,
wider and
yeah,
wider,
and
but it's gorgeous
It's very
as well.
gorgeous. Lots of high
Gorgeous.
wooded mountains, really beautiful. And there's hotel stops, restaurants
There
and
is
hotels.
cafe stops. Yeah.
So you can't actually officially stop on the side anymore, but you can stop at restaurants and have a meal and ask if you can stay overnight.
And you can
Usually
just
they say
stay.
yes.
Usually they say yes, yeah.
Okay, next. gets bigger and bigger. And it's not just bigger, we didn't notice it getting bigger because we're going down it, but you stop occasionally and you just look at it and think, fuck, this is enormous. Next. Okay, this is another story. Anna, you can tell this one.
Oh, this is the houseboat. So we met someone on Facebook. Somebody got in touch with us on Facebook and said, "Hey, I have this houseboat. I run this the bike
Bicycle
ferries,
ferry.
and I have this houseboat in this little port, and it's a protected port from all the boats and all the current, so you can stop there." So and said, "Okay, perfect. Let's stop there." We found it on the map. Okay, we stop it, and then he said, "But when you go in, you just have to keep left. Make sure that you keep left." Okay, fine, keep left. Okay. So we got in. And we said, okay, let's keep left. The left was like full of rocks. We were like, okay, it's full of rocks, so let's keep a bit right and then left. And when we went a bit right to go straight to the left that they said, we just suddenly
The boat
just stopped. And
we couldn't tell. We looked out the window. We're not moving anymore.
So we didn't eat anything, but we were not moving. We were like, okay, so what is happening in here? So we just got stuck in a mud bank.
We're on a mud bank. There's a mud bar across the thing, and we actually literally go right past the rocks to avoid it. So we were stuck on this mud bank, and we couldn't get off with maximum power. We just wouldn't move. So we were stuck on this mud bank on the Danube, and we had to wave a passing speedboat to come and pull us off. So they were pulling us off sideways backwards, and we were motoring backwards. We reversed and washed the mud bank away, and in the end we twisted off it.
Crazy.
It was crazy. So we almost spent the night on a mud bank. Next. So if you get hospitality in small harbours, be wary.
Yeah. So after that, because we could not stop there, he told us, we called the guy and said, well, this happened, we got stuck on your port, so what we'll do? He said, well, there is this restaurant a few kilometers down, just stop on that
He's a
mooring.
mate of the restaurant.
The guy is nice, and we meet there for dinner. So, okay, that's fine. So we went to this little bay, we stopped on this nice
It's an offshoot.
and we were supposed to stay there one night, and we had the dinner with him, nice night, and then we woke up. The boat was literally down like 2 or 3 meters with rocks everywhere around us, and the guy, so it looked like it had been raining a lot upriver, and the Austrian guys were just playing a bit around with the levels of the
So
locks.
they empty the basins when it rains in Switzerland, so there's room for the water to fill up the river, and then the water rushes down and fills it up again. So the levels suddenly drop because they empty them, boom, and it goes down 2 meters, maybe 3 meters. Lots of mud appears.
Yeah, and we got stuck here.
And we were on
1 week,
offshoot, so lots of rocks appeared.
So I think we got stuck here 1 week.
Yeah.
First because of the levels that
And
were
you see
too
the
low.
boat. This is the boat, and that's the boat.
Then it
Next
just goes
in
down.
the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Boom.
we got stuck here 1 week, I think,
I think
because
so,
of the
yes.
levels.
It was nice, though. It was
But then
nice.
the water was
Very
actually,
beautiful.
but then it was too fast as well.
Yeah,
So
when
then
they
we
let
had
the
to
water
wait
in, it was
for
too
it.
fast, so we had to wait a day or two for it to
Yeah.
slow down. Yeah. Okay, next.
Then off we went to
Yeah.
Linz.
Okay.
Then off we went to Linz, where we got out of the water.
Yeah, we had to research around. It costs about 500 to 800 euros to leave a boat over winter if it's a small boat in Europe. And each time we've always found a place for 200 euros or so. And this was a boat club, a little local boat club, and they said they'd take our boat, and they lifted out for a couple of hundred euros.
The guy
and
from the bike.
the bike guy
got us.
Yeah, got us a place. We made best friends with the guy with the boat ferry. We stayed in his house, and he lent us his car, and he organised a mooring for the winter. So this is the boat club lifting us out. Next, this is him. The bike ferries for transporting bikes across the Danube. They have bike tracks, and it swaps over sides. So they actually have government subsidised ferries. It's a catamaran, which with a flat bit, and they load it up with about 10 or 15 bikes. Okay, no, you can't do the current. You can't do the curent. Okay,
It's quite
next.
strong, his boat.
These are the old codgers from the thing, and then we became a treehouse for the winter. we were actually, it was all done DIY. We actually borrowed a farm trailer. The guy was using it for he was an artist. He was using it for hauling 20-ton blocks of stone for carving. And he said, "I've got a trailer. It's sitting in a field." So he turned up with this really knackered trailer. We craned the boat out and we dropped it on top of it. It was held up with pallets and tyres, sitting on top of this farm trailer, which meant it was sort of 20 foot up in the sky. I mean, so that's it, sitting up in the trees basically. And then we've got another one.
I think this is it for.
Okay. This is the flooding levels. This is about 5 meters above the level of the water, and
The top one is 2003. So
2003 and
yeah.
2013. I think these are the flood levels. So the Danube floods 7 meters in the winter,
That's why we took it out.
This is why we took it out of the water. We couldn't leave it in the water because when we come back, it might not be there at all. You know? So people take their boats out of the water in the winter just because the rivers go up and down. They're huge rivers. The Danube's draining, you know, a large portion of Europe. And then next, I think that might be it.
I think is it?
Year 3. Okay, we're going to do in year 3, but we thought we were going to go on too long, so we're going to stop in Austria.